Stop scrolling, because this is a story of a man who heard directly from God. Not a feeling, not a dream, not a sign he had to interpret. A direct, clear, unmistakable instruction from God himself. And decided, no, let me set the scene. Jonah is a prophet, which means his entire job, his whole purpose, his entire reason for existing professionally was to hear from God and deliver the message. That is the job description. Hear from God. Go where God says. Say what God says. Simple enough, right? So God comes to Jonah one day and says, go to Nineveh, that great city. Preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me. Now Nineveh was not a small friendly town. Nineveh was one of the largest, most powerful, most dangerous cities in the ancient world. The capital of Assyria, the empire that had terrorized and destroyed nations for generations. The people that Israel feared and despised above almost everyone else on earth. God was essentially telling Jonah to walk into the most dangerous, hostile city on the planet and tell them they were in trouble. And Jonah's response? He gets up, heads straight to the port, finds the first available ship, and buys a ticket, going in the exact opposite direction. Not, Lord, let me pray about this first. Not, are you absolutely sure you have the right person? Not even a brief negotiation. Just, ticket purchased, ship located, opposite direction selected. Jonah is gone. The Bible says he was fleeing from the Lord. Not from Nineveh, from the Lord. Sir, you are a prophet, running from God, on a boat, as if God does not own the ocean you are sailing on. So the ship set sail, and everything is perfectly fine, for about 5 minutes, because God sends a storm. Not a light drizzle, not some choppy waves that make you slightly uncomfortable. A violent storm so severe that the Bible says the ship threatened to break apart. The sailors, professional sailors who had seen storms before, who had done this their entire careers, are terrified. They are throwing cargo overboard to lighten the ship. They are praying to every god they have ever heard of. Every single person on that vessel is in absolute full panic mode. And Jonah? Jonah is below deck, fast asleep. Sir, the ship is literally breaking apart. Experienced professional sailors are throwing their cargo into the ocean in panic. Everyone is praying to every deity they can remember. And the one man whose disobedience caused this entire situation is taking a comfortable nap. The captain finds him, and the captain, who is understandably not calm right now, looks at the sleeping man and says, how can you sleep? Get up and call on your God. Maybe your God will notice us so that we do not perish tonight. The sailors meanwhile decide to cast lots to find out whose fault this disaster is, and the lot falls on Jonah. They turn to him with every question at once. Who are you? Where do you come from? What have you done? What is your occupation? What nationality are you? And Jonah, to his absolute credit, does not lie. He does not invent a story. He does not try to talk his way out of this. He looks at these terrified strangers and says completely calmly, I am a Hebrew. I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land, and I am running away from him. The sailors look at each other, then look at the storm getting worse by the second, then look back at Jonah. You did what? What do we do with you to make the sea calm down? Because it is getting worse, not better, and we are all going to die tonight. And Jonah says, throw me into the sea, then it will calm down, because I know this storm is my fault. Now give Jonah some credit here. He could have suggested anything else. Keep rowing. Throw more cargo. Pray harder. Try a different direction. But he knew exactly what was happening. This storm existed solely because of him. And the only way it stops is if he goes into it. The sailors actually try to row to shore first, because even these complete strangers, even people who have known this man for approximately 2 hours, do not want to throw a living person into a violent ocean. But the storm gets worse. And worse, and worse, until finally they pray, Lord, please do not hold us accountable for this man's life. Do not hold us responsible for innocent blood. You have done as you please. And they throw Jonah into the sea. And immediately, the moment Jonah hits the water, the storm stops, completely, instantly. The violent crashing sea goes absolutely flat calm. And the sailors, who started this voyage worshipping their own gods, are now standing on a suddenly peaceful ship, fearing the Lord and making vows to him, even running in the wrong direction. Even in complete disobedience, even getting thrown off a ship in the middle of a storm he caused. God used Jonah to bring an entire crew of pagan sailors to their knees. That is how relentlessly purposeful God is. He wastes nothing, not even your mistakes. But Jonah is in the water now, in the middle of the ocean, sinking. And this is where the story takes a turn nobody on that ship could have predicted, because God had prepared a great fish, not a random fish that happened to be swimming by. A prepared fish, a specific fish, positioned and ready for exactly this moment. And the fish swallowed Jonah whole. Now, before you get completely distracted by the fish, stay with what is happening spiritually here. Jonah ran from God, got on a ship going the wrong direction, caused a violent storm that almost killed everyone on board, got thrown into the ocean, and is now inside a fish, in the dark, at the bottom of the sea, completely alone, completely helpless, completely out of options. And the Bible says he was in there for 3 days and 3 nights. 3 days, in the dark, inside a fish, at the bottom of the ocean. Now I need you to understand something about those 3 days. Because God did not put Jonah inside a fish to punish him. God put Jonah inside a fish to save him. From the ocean, yes, but more importantly, from himself. Because sometimes God has to remove every single distraction, every single escape route, every single option, before we finally get quiet enough to hear ourselves think. And Jonah at the bottom of the ocean, inside a fish with nowhere left to go, finally gets quiet enough. And on day 3 something shifts. Because Jonah finally does the one thing he should have done before any of this started. He prays. And the prayer Jonah prays from inside that fish is one of the most raw, honest, desperate prayers in the entire Bible. He talks about sinking into the deep, currents swirling around him, waves and breakers sweeping over him, being driven away from God's sight, seaweed wrapped around his head, sinking to the roots of the mountains, the earth beneath him barring him in forever. This man is describing what drowning feels like, from inside a fish, after 3 days, and in the middle of all of it he says, "When my life was ebbing away, I remembered you, Lord, and my prayer rose to you, to your holy temple. When my life was ebbing away, I remembered you, not when things were going well, not when the sun was out and the sea was calm and the ship was heading in the right direction. When my life was ebbing away, in the dark, at the absolute bottom, with nowhere left to go, I remembered you." And then Jonah says 4 words that become the turning point of everything. Salvation comes from the Lord. 4 words, from the bottom of the ocean, inside a fish, after 3 days in complete darkness. And God responds immediately. The Lord spoke to the fish, and the fish vomited Jonah onto dry land. Vomited, not gently set him down, not carefully deposited him on the shore. Vomited. Jonah lands on dry ground, soaking wet, smelling like the inside of a fish after 3 days, somewhere on a beach that is probably nowhere near where he originally started. And God comes to Jonah a second time. Same voice, same instruction. Go to Nineveh, that great city. Proclaim to it the message I give you. As if the last week and a half simply did not happen. No lecture. No I told you so. No list of everything that went wrong because of your disobedience. Just the same calling. Still waiting for him. Exactly where he left it. And this time Jonah goes. He walks into Nineveh. This massive city, so large the Bible says it takes 3 days just to walk through it. And Jonah goes one day and begins to preach. And his entire sermon is 8 words. 40 more days and Nineveh will be overthrown. That is it. 8 words. No elaborate theology. No carefully structured argument. No impressive introduction. Just 8 words from a man who smells like fish and spent 3 days at the bottom of the ocean. And the entire city repents. Every single person. From the greatest to the least. The king himself takes off his royal robes, puts on sackcloth, sits down in the dust, and issues a decree. Nobody eats. Nobody drinks. Everyone cries out to God. Everyone turns from their evil ways. Even the animals are fasting. The cows are fasting, because the king said so. In Nineveh. And God sees it, and does not destroy Nineveh. Which brings us to the part of this story that most people never talk about. Because Jonah is angry, deeply furious. He sits outside the city and basically tells God, "This is exactly why I ran in the first place. I knew you were going to do this. I knew you were going to show them mercy. You are gracious and compassionate, slow to anger, abounding in love. And I knew you were not going to destroy them. So I ran." Read that again slowly. Jonah did not run because he was afraid of Nineveh. He ran because he was afraid God would save them. He did not want Nineveh saved, the very grace that pulled him out to the bottom of the ocean inside a fish. He did not want extended to the people he hated. And God, patient, compassionate, endlessly merciful God, looks at this sulking prophet sitting outside a city he just helped save, and asks him one quiet, gentle question. Is it right for you to be angry? The book of Jonah ends there. No dramatic conclusion. No resolution. Just God asking a question, and leaving Jonah and every person who has ever read this story to answer it for themselves. Because the real question of the book of Jonah was never whether God would save Nineveh. The real question was always whether we actually believe that God's grace is big enough for the people we think deserve it least. Comment salvation comes from the Lord if this story hit different for you today. And follow for episode 12 because we are moving into the New Testament now. A young woman, an angel at her door, and a message so unexpected, so impossible, so world-changing, that her only response was complete confusion. Her name was Mary, and what God was about to do through her, nobody saw coming. Episode 12 is coming, and everything changes from here.